So I'm like 17, 18, and I'm training my ass off. I keep losing, and I don't understand why, but I keep fighting. And then one day, this guy named Jesse Bongsfeld gives me this amazing gift. He smashes my face in 5 places in one fight, and that changed everything. So if you're doubting yourself and you're not really sure if you can make it through this sport, make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I made this for you. So I have over 40 fights. I fought in the UFC, I own a gym, and I've trained multiple champions. When you see somebody that's where I am now, you'll usually think they've always been good. But actually, when I first started, I wasn't good. I didn't know anything. I sucked. And it took the worst night in my life to make me make the change that was necessary in order for me to get very, very, very good. So I'm making this video in order to give you the keys so that you don't have to go through all the hardship that I went through to learn what I learned. Learn from my mistakes. Now, I started my pro career in high school. I was 17 years old. I wasn't crazy committed. Like, I did it because it was fun to do. I thought that this was a great pastime. Now I know that that's a flawed way of thinking. If you're in this sport for any other reason than to be the world champion and the best in the world, it's probably a good idea to just find another hobby because this sport is incredibly dangerous. So in the beginning, I did a lot of things right. I had a good mentor in Bill Mahood who was really, really great coach. And he told me, he showed me that I needed to do a lot of cardio and really put in the grind work, which I did. He showed me that I had to do a lot of sparring. Usually my sparring partner was Sam, which was terrible. He was a light heavyweight. And I did. I put in those rounds. I got beat up all the time by him and got tougher. These are great things. I didn't have access to the best technique, but I was still doing everything that I could in the little place that I was. The problem was that that wasn't the right place for me to be. I had the wrong friend group. I didn't have people around me with high aspirations and higher goals than my goals that I was looking up to. I didn't have elite level technical coaching. I didn't have a good wrestling ability. I didn't have a good jiu-jitsu ability. Overall, the biggest issue was I was comfortable. I was living in Prince George, a small northern town in British Columbia, Canada. I was comfortable doing all of the things that I was doing. I didn't want to step outside that zone and really make a hard choice to do something that would really serve me, like leaving Prince George, leaving all my friends and my gangster life behind me. So I'm living this kind of gangster fight lifestyle in Prince George, thinking I'm like the coolest guy ever and that I can just beat all these other guys just on what I'm doing. And my coach got a call from Lee Meehan, who owns the Roadhouse Rumble at the time. Now it's called Rumble in the Cage. They wanted me to fight this guy named Jesse Bongsfeld. I thought that was a fantastic idea. Jesse is a tough dude and he likes to strike. I had always been fighting these wrestlers that just want to hold me down, and I'd had some success with my hands. I knocked a guy out in my first fight, so I thought I was a striker. I also had no wrestling, so I really thought I was a striker. Now, Jesse's a little heavier. Normally I fought at 155 pounds. Jesse was a welterweight. So I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I'll go up in weight and fight him. So I fight him at 170 pounds. My camp consisted of me doing all of the same things that I was already doing. I didn't train to focus on takedowns because the guy's a striker. Maybe you want to put him on his back. I just trained the way I was training. I did my boxing. I did my PG Fight Club training, and I did a whole lot of cardio and stopped with some of like the partying and nightlife that I was doing because I was in fight camp now. So it's fight day and I come out to the ring to like some crazy necro song or something like that, crazy rap music. I'm like super hype, as I always was. Like, my name was Raging Kajan. They called me that because I'd get all crazy before my fights. I jump in the cage and I'm stomping around, and he comes in, and he's the hometown favorite because he's from the town we were fighting in. He's from Lethbridge. The fight is in Lethbridge, so the crowd is just going nuts. The fight starts and he's southpaw, so my whole strategy almost went out the window right there because I was very focused on making sure my jab could get established. Very hard to jab a southpaw, and Funny enough, this had just happened the fight before. Fought a guy that was named Stefan Dubé, was like a karate expert, and he came out and he was southpaw. I had no idea how to fight a southpaw. Finally, he switched to orthodox, and I was like, yay! And then he spinning back kicked me in the liver and ended me. And so I hadn't had a whole lot of good experience fighting southpaws. I didn't know Mr. Jesse Bongsfeld was a southpaw. I kind of found out when we were in the ring. So I'm moving around and I'm trying to find my jab. It's not really working, and I'm getting blasted with these kicks. This guy's a lot bigger than me, so I'm like, I don't really like this. And then he hits me with a body kick in the liver, right? Which is like the same thing that had just ended me. So I didn't like that. As soon as that landed, I was like, I'm gonna take you down now with my almost zero wrestling. I was pretty athletic, so I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna shoot the double anyway. So I shoot the double. Now, he had just kicked me in the body, so what's he gonna do next? Probably gonna try to kick me in the body again, which he did. So when I was shooting, I shot right into the tip of his knee, and it landed right here. And it broke my orbital here, and under my eye socket. They call it a tripod orbital fracture. After that, I couldn't really see very well, for one, but I was actually able to complete the takedown and end up on top. Now, as soon as I ended up on top of this guy, I was just trying to figure out what the hell was going on, because I had never experienced any kind of pain like that. It's very different when you get a facial fracture, especially in your orbitals. Oftentimes the nerve in your face gets pinched. So it was like a fiery pain. It wasn't like a throbbing. It was extremely sharp, extremely acute, and it felt like somebody poured gasoline on my face and lit it on fire. It was absolutely terrible. Now, I'm on top of this guy, and then eventually he reversed me and I'm under him. He's trying to rain down blows, and I'm just trying to like stay safe. Eventually I hit a sweep and got on top. Thank God. I was able to return the favor a little bit because we had knees to the head on the ground. So I wanted to make the most of it. I passed the side control, and I kneed him in the face a couple times, and I ended up breaking his nose at the end of the first. This is a crazy fight, right? So then I go back to the corner, and Bill's talking to me, and I'm like not knowing where to look because there's 3 Bills in front of me, right? I'm seeing triple. And he's like, go out there and just throw your 1s and your 2s, pressure them. So I tried, and it was actually working. The second round starts, and I come out and I hit him with a couple punches and I backed him up. But I really didn't want to get hit. Like, I was absolutely terrified that he was just gonna touch my face. Like, I didn't want anybody to touch it. It was so painful. So with my absolutely terrible wrestling, I decided it's a good idea to just get double underhooks and pull him on top of me and try to sweep him with my butterfly guard that was almost non-existent at the time. Now, that didn't work out very well. So I ended up laying under the guy for the whole second round, and he was bombing on me, hitting my eye a couple times. But right at the end of the round, maybe 10 seconds left, he throws a nasty right hand that lands perfectly on my nose and breaks it in 2 places. Then, because he's such a nice guy, at the end of the bell, he picked me up off the ground, right? Such a nice guy. I walked back to the corner, just like completely like, what the hell is happening? Like, I've been in a lot of fights already, but what the hell is going on? Bill's looking at me in the corner, and he doesn't really like what he sees, so he ends up throwing in the towel and calling off the fight. Thank God, because another round of that would have probably ended my career. Quite likely. Jesse Bongsfeld is a savage. He ended up making it to the UFC at like 185 or something like that later in his career. But this whole situation really gave me an ultimatum. It made me have to take a step back from everything and look at myself. I saw somebody that wasn't really doing everything that it took in order to be the very best in the world. I was a journeyman at that point. I had a checkered record, something like 7 wins, 10 losses, something like that. Not the best record, not the record of a world champion. Now, those of you that know MMA know that the UFC will never sign anybody that's 7-10. It will never happen. And it took a long time for me to get to the UFC, but I did in fact get to the UFC, even though many people from my family to my friends to other elite fighters, people I looked up to, guys like Mark Bocek that was in the UFC at the time, would tell people that I'll never make it. I'll just never make it to the UFC. But I did. And I did because I was willing to change. So the ultimatum that I was faced with is quit or commit. Go all out or go all in. And I decided to go all in. I didn't have to just change my training. I had to change my whole life. I had to really look at myself and see what I was actually up to, because we're not transparent to ourselves. A lot of times we'll lie to ourselves. So I was running drugs, partying and drinking, womanizing, and training without learning wrestling. I was fighting in MMA, and I didn't have any technical, freestyle, or Greco or judo ability. I had a little bit of knowledge about jiu-jitsu. I was like a pretty good white belt. I had to fix these things, and it took me a long time. But luckily, I had just got my face fractured and they screwed a bunch of plates in there. That required me to have a long recovery time. I used that recovery time to create a plan. How can I get to a place that has elite level coaching, where I will be surrounded by other people that have bigger goals than me? Because if you surround yourself with the right people, and if you give yourself everything that you need, then it's very likely you will succeed. And even if you don't, you will know in your heart that you gave it your all, and you'll be able to deal with that so much better than knowing in the back of your mind that you never really did what it took. Because that's you not showing up for yourself. And that kind of stuff is what will eat away at your soul for the rest of your life. You'll be living with those regrets forever. And you can see this all the time by people that keep talking about what they did in their high school athletic career, now when they're 40 with a beer belly and 6 kids, right? So I never wanted to be that. I always wanted to make sure that I did everything it took. And I ended up doing it. Here's what I did. I laid out a plan. First thing, I need to find a way to get out of the drug game. So I went back to school. I used the money that I was making from selling drugs to put myself through culinary school. Like, yeah, whatever, culinary school is gonna give you an okay job. It's gonna give me a job that's gonna allow me to go wherever I need to get in order to get access to good technique. Now, for me, I was lucky I was able to stay in the same country, even the same province. But for some of you, that might mean you have to leave your country. I was talking to one of the people on my pro fight team, my online pro fight team the other day, and he lives in Italy, Mr. Raphael, shout out to Raphael. And he's looking at leaving and going to the US from Italy, or leaving and going to a place like Georgia in order to learn high-level wrestling from the Georgians. Fantastic idea. Kudos to you, Mr. Raphael. I put myself through school in order to get a job in a place that I would have access to elite coaching, which was Vancouver, BC. While I was still in school, I was still training. I was still working on my goals while I was carrying out this plan. Because if you just, so I need to go back to school, and then you just put all your energy into school, now you're not building on the goals that you have, like you're gonna be behind, right? I didn't want to fall behind. I didn't want to get left in the dust. I knew I had started MMA at a really key time before most people even knew what it was. So I knew I had a shot still, and I was also pretty young, right? I think I was like 19 or 20 when this happened. So I finished school, moved down to Vancouver, and I started working in a kitchen at the Pan Pacific in Vancouver. I left the kitchen pretty quickly because I realized that I could get a job that was even better than that. I wasn't able to train as much as I would like when I was cooking, and the chefs would always give me trouble for coming in with black eyes and shaving my head and all this stuff. So I got out of there and I got a job at the gym that I was the closest to. But I couldn't have done that from Prince George. I couldn't have known who to talk to in order to get the job at this gym when I was living in Prince George. So it was necessary for me to get this culinary arts degree, get into Vancouver through that, and then from there I start networking and finding the people that are where I want to be. I talk to them, I'm like, I really want to do this. I will do whatever. Like if there's any job, I will work the front desk, I will sweep mats, I will mop mats. And I end up getting a job essentially doing that. I was like the driver for the owner of this gym. And so, cause he had lost his license, so I was just driving him to the gym. And then I would clean the mats and stuff and do little odd jobs for him at the gym while I was there, as well as training. It was literally the best job I could possibly have. And that gave me access to elite level coaching. I started working with a guy named Tony Pep, fought Floyd Mayweather to a decision without a mark on his face. This guy was one of the slickest boxers that Canada's ever produced. I was working with Bibiano Fernandez, 5-time world champion. He ended up becoming like Dream World Champion. And you guys probably know who this is, right? He was a 1FC champ. I got to work with Nicholas Iguala, Colin Dane, some elite level wrestlers. Nicholas Iguala was also an amazing mental coach. So I really just got all of the coaching I could possibly ever have asked for. And I got surrounded by an amazing group of people, an amazing group of high-level fighters, the best talent in the province. We were actually like a rival to TriStar Gym in Montreal at the time, because TriStar had like George St. Pierre and David Loiseau and a couple really high-level fighters there, right? Patrick Cote. We had Todd Gowenberg. We had Caleb Starnes. We had Coulter Gill. We had myself. We had Blake Fredrickson. We had Bibiano Fernandez. Like, we had a solid team. Through that, I got to see what these other guys were doing and how much they would train and how much they would rest and how they orchestrated their lives in order to give themselves the ability to train as much as they needed to train in order to get where they needed to get. And I also got to spar them. I got to drill with them. I got to work with them all the time. I was always in the gym. And after that, everything changed. Every single thing changed. I went from winning some fights and losing some fights. I'd win one and then lose two, win one and then lose three. Even the ones that I was winning, for the most part, I wasn't just smoking these guys. Like, they were still competitive fights. And then after that, after training at what was called the Fortress in Langley, BC, just outside Vancouver, I went 6 straight, like all in the first round. I beat guys that were black belts in jiu-jitsu when I was a blue belt. I beat wrestlers. I beat a guy who was Rampage Jackson's wrestling coach. The only guy that I lost to on that whole run was Rory McDonald. And that was in the 3rd round by TKO, and I'd made some mistakes and I learned from those as well. But it changed the entire trajectory of my career. And that's what took me from like a low-level journeyman, tough kid, but not very good, lots of potential, but very unrealized potential, into one of the best guys in the entire country, right? On the regional scene, I was undoubtedly one of the best guys in the entire country, right? I had a belt around my waist. I won the ex-MMA title. I defended the ex-MMA title. I was the next guy to go into the show. And that all happened because I had to take a step back, really objectively look at the entirety of my life and where it was positioning me, where I was actually going because of the way I was living. It made me change everything. So if you're out there right now and you're in that spot that I was in, if you're winning some and losing some, if everybody thinks you're like a really tough guy and you've got so much heart, but you just can't seem to get on a winning streak. You just can't seem to find that thing that makes you level up. You need to take a step back. You need to take an objective look at your entire life, not just your fighting. You need to look at your entire life and see, who are your friends? Who are you hanging out with? Who are the people that you look up to? What kind of training methods do you have? And where can you improve? And for a lot of us, it's gonna mean you have to leave. You have to get outside your comfort zone. And that's one of the hardest things to do, because you're leaving everything. You're leaving your friends, you're leaving your family, and this is something that most people will tell you not to do. Most people want to just stay in their little bubble, but that's why most people aren't champions. So if you wanna be somebody, if you wanna do things in your career, if you wanna do things in your life that other people can't do, then you're gonna have to make decisions that other people won't make, because that's what makes you champion. If you're a champion in your life, if you walk like a champion and you live like a champion, you will become a champion. And I know, because I did. I know a lot of you guys out there right now are looking for guidance. You're looking for a mentor of some kind. Now, we do have an online pro fight team. I mentioned it earlier. If that's something that you're interested in, just click down below. We'll see if you're the right fit. Now, if this video helped you to get out of the rut that you're in, if this provided some value, just let me know in the comments, because it really helps me to figure out what you guys need. I really wish that somebody told me this when I was 17, 18, 19, and I probably wouldn't have got my face broken as much. So if it helped, let me know. Peace.